coming up on Bronco Tales.
So my hot take, I think, is that body positivity is like such a great place to be, such a great place to like direct people, but it's still about bodies. And I'm a big proponent of like we're so much more than what our bodies look like. It's so much more than our bodies. Hi, I'm Laci McCabe. I am the body image intern at BroncoFit. I'm studying counseling. I'm in the Master's in Counseling program here, where I am going to be specializing in addiction and eating disorders. And I'm here today with Amy.
Hi, my name's Amy Roberts. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I work in the counseling unit of health services here at Boise State.
This is Bronco Tales with College of Health Sciences. I kind of wanted to start off with kind of defining what body positivity is. This episode will be about body positivity. And I think, and I actually have a hot take on it. I'll talk about it in a little bit. But I think body positivity is just kind of a mindset shift more towards gratitude about our bodies and thinking more in terms of like health and well-being outside of weight and what we look like. And really just learning to love ourselves and our bodies. But I'm curious to know what your take is on it.
Sure. When I think about the origins of the body positive movement, it really comes from a place where there are marginalized or disenfranchised individuals who are attempting to reclaim their right to have an authentic identity that might fall outside a narrowly defined, narrowly predicated social and cultural lens. So it helps impact people who may not just fit a definition of health or beauty, but also honoring their place as a valid member of society in a cultural lens, social economic lens, embodiment overall.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I think I actually had a conversation with Elizabeth Scott, who is one of the founders of the Be Body Positive curriculum that we use here at Boise State, both in my body image discussion groups and in your counseling groups. And a conversation that I had with her was that, you know, talking about like body image just implies how we appear and how other people like perceive us externally, but that it's more about embodiment disruptions. And she's just like such a master of language, as are you too. But the embodiment disruptions being about like when you struggle with body image, it's so much more than just what you look like or how people see you, but how you live life and experience life in your body, in the world.
Totally. When we look at rates of eating disorders, disordered eating, or body image concerns, people who have marginalized identities in other areas of their life tend to be overrepresented and undertreated. So it is important, I think, to take that more of a biopsychosocial lens in looking at embodiment.
Absolutely. I have a question. Like, what do you think body positive culture looks like at Boise State?
I think at Boise State, body positive culture can be accessed in a couple ways. Obviously, in my role in the counseling department at Health Services, we have a integrated team. So we have counselors, medical staff. Historically, we've had a dietitian, and hopefully we'll get one again soon. Mm-hmm. But working as a collaborative team is super helpful. Individual therapy, group therapy, and accessing informed medical care is part of how body positivity looks at Boise State. I believe we're moving in a direction where the dialogue is getting more robust across campus. And that's encouraging.
Yeah, I love that. I love that it's kind of starting in like health services and the medical part, because I haven't noticed, I think recently it's becoming, more campus wide, but I feel like the focus so far has been in health services and the resources that students have on campus for like a counseling setting and medical setting as well. And I'm excited to be a part of kind of spreading that on campus and kind of providing that information and helping students know the resources that they do have, in addition to just helping people start thinking about body image and being more body positive.
Totally. I think it is also a good idea to give a shout out to the Gender Equity Center.
Absolutely.
In as much as people who identify in the queer community are one of those special populations that tend to have a higher predominance rate. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense to think about why. Mm-hmm. When people make assumptions about you based on a visual scan, mm-hmm. gender's on there, mm-hmm. sexuality's on there, health and beauty is on there. And so I know that the Gender Equity Center is another entity on campus that is a proponent of acceptance and positivity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that goes back to embodiment, right? People in the queer community might have a different embodiment experience. And I think it's super important to be inclusive of that and really focus our messaging and culture around that too.
Totally.
Sure. Can I share my hot take? So my hot take, I think, is that body positivity is such a great place to be, such a great place to direct people, but it's still about bodies. And mm-hmm. I'm a big proponent of we're so much more than what our bodies look like. It's so much more than our bodies. Yes, we have this embodied experience, but also what we do in the world, how we change the world, how we interact, how we treat other people, how we experience things, the awesome things that we do to help make changes in the world and for the people around us is just so much bigger than just our body. I think that's positivity in general. Leave out the body part. Mm-hmm. But that I think it's just so important to focus on who we are as people and what we do and how we treat other people than it is to even focus on our bodies.
Sure. I like your hot take there, Laci, about redefining what body positivity at its core is about. And not looking at it through the lens of just is it aesthetics? Mm-hmm. Is it about how you look or what your body can or can't do? But a larger utility of our humanity mm-hmm. is really an act of rebellion.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Rebellion against diet culture and beauty standards and even powers that be and socioeconomic issues and all kinds of things that you're rebelling against when we start talking about that. I feel
it's a radical act to say this is not just about how I look or how I move through this space, mm-hmm. but what I bring to the dialogue, what we all bring to the dialogue. Yeah. And as a society mm-hmm. where we want to move.
Yeah, it's equity
mm-hmm.
too, I think. Yeah. I also, we have Body Acceptance Week here at the Boise State campus. And I think talking about body acceptance is sometimes a step towards body positivity. And, there's probably a hot take there too. But I think people people can be in like a real space or rut where it's like they really are hating on their bodies. They're really unhappy. There's a lot of, diet talk or body talk or a lot of negativity. And so I think when we're talking about body acceptance, it is this like kind of filling that gap. Like body positivity might feel like too big of a gap, like to leap over for some people. And I think just talking about acceptance is just kind of living in that space that, our bodies are vessels for the other things that we do in our lives. And we, it's just for how we move through the world and like how can we get to a place of neutrality with that. And then ultimately body positivity, but also just a much larger view on who we are as humans.
Yeah, I agree. There's sometimes feeling positive can feel inaccessible, like you said, Laci. And so looking at reshaping those expectations and acceptance, utility or neutrality sometimes can feel more accessible to people who are starting to evaluate their sense of self through their body.
Yeah, definitely. Where do you want to see like the body positive culture? Like what direction do you want it to go on the campus?
Some ideas I have around that would be to incorporate more inclusive marketing, representation, and accessibility.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you want to elaborate on those?
I think one of the bits of feedback that I get from the students, faculty, and staff that I work with directly at the counseling center here at Boise State is that there are some spaces that they may not feel super comfortable and that may not be super accommodating to people of a variety of body sizes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What are any ideas that you have for like addressing that? Is there anything specific that you would like to talk about?
Organizational culture flows from the top.
Absolutely.
So being able to have conversations, and I believe and hope that they are at a leadership level, wanting to diversify our campus in a number of different ways, including how to make people feel comfortable sitting in the stadium.
Absolutely.
Or at the Morrison Center, or renting equipment, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. What would you say is like the biggest, the most frequent, issues that you're seeing on campus from like the counseling perspective, in terms of like embodiment?
One big thing that came immediately to mind is the freshman population. So folks are coming here sometimes for the very first time making food and movement choices on an autonomous level. Sometimes if they are beholden to the meal plan and live on campus, those are sometimes restrictive for people. So they're kind of like learning how to adult in some ways. And that includes like, how do I use my swipes? When do I access this food as opposed to this one? And that can be so overwhelming for people.
Yeah. Yeah. So for people like listening, what do you like say to people who have those questions or concerns?
I'd say like adopt a curious mindset. Like be interested in how you feel after making certain choices related to nutrition and movement, and trust your gut.
I love that. Yeah, like that's more in the direction of like intuitive eating, right? Is that what you'd say? Yeah,
Totally.
awesome. I feel like that's a whole other topic. Okay. I think just to wrap everything up, body positivity is so much more than just about how we look. It's gratitude, but it's also how we experience the world, how we treat other people. And I think like we kind of covered some of the resources available on campus, the Gender Equity Center, group counseling. And I think we've definitely got some goals to take to the top, it sounds like, with making a more weight inclusive campus and just getting to a point where people can, of all body sizes and shapes, can be comfortable here.
Totally. Thank you for inviting me to take place in this conversation today.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for listening to Bronco Tales. Join us next week to uncover the secrets of being a radiologic technologist. We'll see you there.
That was a little weird, just walking out with the guy's finger, putting it on the x-ray plate. But I'm like, he's still in the room. Yeah. So that was definitely probably one of the most interesting things.